The only reason I'm still standing today is because of the goodness and the grace of God. And, a lot of people say, oh, here Jamel goes again with that spirituality and faith stuff. And, I tell people all the time, I don't acquiesce. So if faith is an issue for you, if it rubs you the wrong way, then I'm probably not the person for you. But I make no apologies for my faith because I know that I would not be who I am. I would not be doing what I'm doing. I would not have the platform that I have if faith was not involved in that process. And for me to take faith out of the process, it'll collapse everything that I'm trying to construct and build in my life. And so more importantly, I know the reason that I am so grounded is because I have maintained a grateful heart. You know, God has blessed me in a tremendous way. He's given me the opportunity to connect and to speak with and to do life with some incredible people in the world. And, I always tell people, some people you don't want to meet in person. They appear great and from a distance on television and social media, and then when you come in contact with those people in real life, it's a monster. It's not who you thought it was. And I have been very intentional about staying grateful, operating with a sense of humility, not leading with ego and pride and narcissism and all of those different things. Because I'm telling you, a lot of the people that people have so much respect and admiration for are not who we think they are. And you will find yourself heartbroken and disappointed in that. And so that's why I always tell people sometimes you don't want to meet your mentors. You don't want to meet the people that you admire in life because you find out that there's a contradiction. And that's why I'm so adamant about being grateful. And that's why I tell people gratitude is not performance. It is a practice. It is a way of life that you have to adapt. And I feel like we live in a generation where gratitude becomes that little go-to answer that the PR staff has trained you on how to say, oh, I'm so grateful. And they're some of the most egotistical, entitled, arrogant, pompous people in the world. But, they know how to sit down and talk and give the good answers. And like I said, when we cut the cameras off and we see these people in real life, they're not who we think they are. And so I just want to encourage you to live your life with a grateful heart. Don't let anything go to your head because let me tell you something about people. People will celebrate you today and they will crucify you tomorrow. It's why I don't put a lot of stake in people. Everybody will tell you, wonderful, they love you today. I hope they love you tomorrow. But I don't give anybody that type of space or power in my life because I've seen it. I've seen how vindictive and how manipulative and how deceptive people can be. And so I just don't, I don't give people the ability to make me happy or sad. They're just people. And I don't ever get too, what's the word, fixated on a person in my life because more times than not, they're not going to be there long. And if they do happen to make it, that's a miracle. But you cannot put so much stake in so much of your life in people because people will let you down. And so more than 20 years ago, I made a decision that at the time just seemed like a good idea, but it ultimately changed the course of my life forever. And that was the decision that I would start a gratitude journal. At the time, it seemed like a good idea, and I felt like it was a growth opportunity for me. Let me find a way to make gratitude a daily part of my life. How can I write down things that I'm grateful for every day and incorporate this as a principle and a practice in my life? And as I started this gratitude journal, I set out to write down the three things every single day that I was grateful for. And let me tell you, while this seems easy, it was a bit challenging for me to do it first. It's like, okay, what do I write down? What am I grateful for? And over time, my gratitude list grew from three items to pages of heartfelt expressions of me pouring out my heart for all the things that I was grateful for in my life. And while some people will lie to you and make you believe that their lives have been perfect, I will be the first to admit that I've had seasons where life has been extremely difficult for me. And so, it's easy to write gratitude journal entries when everything is wonderful and the sky is blue and the grass is green and everything is just copacetic in your life. But what do you do in those seasons of crises and challenges and contradictions? Can you still be grateful? Can you still be appreciative in the midst of adversity in your life? And so, with tears in my eyes and despair in my heart, I have sat down, opened my gratitude journal, and poured out my soul in moments of hardship, difficulty, and crises. Um, Let me keep it together. There have been some very challenging and difficult seasons in my life. This is why I tell people that most people, when we get into those successful individuals, very few of them are going to be that transparent. They're going to make you think everything is good. And these are the same people I talk to. They're depressed, they're unhappy, they're miserable, but they want you to think that everything is so wonderful in their lives. And what I tell people is that I've gone through seasons of great adversity, great hardship, great difficulty in my life. And there are times where, it's like, do I maintain this gratitude practice or do I give up on it? And it's like, no, you keep doing what you know to do. And I've sat down over the years with tears in my eyes, with pain and frustration in my heart, and I have committed to a lifestyle of gratitude every single day of my life. And I have to put this disclaimer in here. Just because you do that doesn't mean that your life is going to magically change and the circumstances are going to suddenly shift. But what it does do is it helps you to keep the main thing the main thing. It helps you to reflect and to remember what's important in your life and to not get swept away with the currents of crises and uncertainty and turbulence that comes with the journey. And so there are pages that are probably still filled with tears as I was silently walking through some of the greatest battles of my life. I can hear some of you saying, okay, Jamel, all of this sounds really, really good, but I don't really have anything to be grateful for. Trust me, I'm not insensitive to your life journey or your experiences. However, I do want to challenge your perspective a bit today. We live in a very entitled, self centered culture and generation. Everything is about us. Everything is about self care, self love, self respect, self. I hear very little sacrifice. I hear very little giving. I hear very little generosity. Everything is about me. And so, in a generation that revolves around me, a message about gratitude doesn't really resonate because, like I said, we're going to sit down Thursday, we're going to eat great meals, we're going to express what we're grateful for, and Friday morning, we're going to knock each other's heads off, going to shop, most people to spend money that they don't have, to buy things they don't need, after we just express how grateful we were. And so, the point that I'm trying to make is that we have to come to a point in our lives where we lose this entitlement mentality. I am who I am by the grace of God. I am where I am because of the goodness of God. I'm doing what I do because of the love and the faithfulness of God. I don't ever get it twisted. I don't ever get it contorted. I realize that I'm simply just a vessel that God chooses to flow through to accomplish great things in this world. And we have to live our lives anchored in that type of reality because if you don't, it's easy to become egotistical and filled with pride and self inflated and to uh, ultimately take this journey for granted and not really understand it for what it really is. And so I want to ask you a few questions today. Have you ever stopped to consider the fact that you are alive? A lot of people are like, I don't have anything to be grateful for. Guess what? You're not in the morgue. You are alive. And I have to say this because my work is global. And so my audience goes beyond the first world and the second world all the way into the third world, where people are living in some horrible conditions and situations. And I have seen people that come from very little and some from nothing. And I mean, even In America, a lot of times what we call nothing, it pales in comparison to the conditions that some of these people are living in.